Hey, everybody. Happy Sunday. It's me, Teri Hunter. Sorry about last week. My internet went down in the morning and it did not come back until like probably midday, around noon. And then it was 90 million degrees here for the next 3 days and I couldn't move. So I sort of surrendered to the dynamics and let the week mosey on. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about some of the transits that are coming up this week. And then we are going to do our readings. So welcome, welcome, welcome. For those of you that are new to my YouTube channel, I'm Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer. I'm here almost every Sunday at 11 a.m., where we look at the transits ahead, and then we get the angel's advice for traversing those transits. So this week, the big star in the skies, no pun intended, is the partial lunar eclipse in Pisces. This lunar eclipse is conjunct Neptune. Neptune is retrograde right now. Welcome, Catherine. Neptune is going to be at 28 degrees of Pisces, and this partial lunar eclipse is at 25 degrees of Pisces. This is very emotional. There's a lot of water. There's a lot of intuitiveness. This is making aspects to Pluto and to Uranus, which I think is really important. We've talked in many of the monthlies and the weeklies how Pluto will be making a sextile to Neptune and a trine to Uranus for years to come. These outer planets will have these conversations, and while they'll be disruptive initially and potentially erosive, there's also the opportunity for them to be very uplifting and to be able to hear your soul's voice a little bit louder than you hear the personality that you're living in this lifetime. So let's talk a little bit about Neptune. Okay, Neptune is, we always associate it first off with spirits and spirits, both the spirits above and the spirits that we enjoy in the human physical experience. But here, I really believe that there is a feeling of emotional dynamics that are going to be coming up. I think it's going to be like rings on a tree. So all of us will feel this on a very personal level. The moon is a very personal planet. It's in an opposition to the sun. The sun is at obviously 25 degrees of Virgo. So the sun is coming up on that very pivotal point in the Shapley cluster called the supergalactic center. So I believe that there is a part of this eclipse that's going to illuminate your soul's voice, your inner voice, the part of you that does not live in this earth plane. And that inner knowing is going to ignite something, or it's going to reveal something. And it could reveal things that have been deceptive or illusions, or the fog could clear. And that is a result of the sextile to Uranus and to Pluto. Pluto representing that deep psychological imprint, and then Uranus representing that liberation from it. And it could come suddenly and out of nowhere, and also in a way that might spark, there could be arguments. We've got Mars traveling through Cancer right now. And, this is an interesting dynamic because when Mars is in Cancer, it's in its fall. And yet at the same time, if it's aspected well in your natal chart, this can be really fabulous for you to be brave within trusting your emotional body, knowing the value of trusting your need to self-care so that you can give to others. When Mars is exalted in Capricorn, while it's beautiful on some level, it can be Mr. Know-It-All or Ms. Know-It-All. It can be very much my way or the highway. And if it's challenged in its aspects, squares mostly, you're going to find yourself in a tense position between wanting to take leadership and then going into those lower vibrations of Mars. And I say this because I think it's important, with Mars being in Cancer for the next 2 months, pretty much till the mid of November. Cancer for the United States is its sun sign, We're going through an election time. Mars is the god of war. He's also the god of pioneering spirit, the heroic energy. And I think that this is an opportunity for Mars to be brave as it listens to what it is hearing, meaning how am I swimming through these waters? What are my emotions telling me? Because again, this eclipse is going to illuminate. It's a full moon. It's a partial eclipse. So I feel like there's going to be a glimpse of something that it ignites on an intuitive level, and then it confirms on a physical level as we get closer to the next eclipse and we move through this next couple of months. So welcome, Posted Up, Jules, Kiss JG, DJ, it's great to see you here. Okay, so what else is not, I don't really think anything too extraordinary other than that eclipse is happening this week that we're not swimming through. The sun will enter Libra next week, and that's going to be where the sun is in its where it's most challenged to be diplomatic. So I do believe that the eclipse that is happening this week, eclipses can reveal something over a 6-month period of time, and that may happen in your personal life, but I think there are going to be things that are being brought up to the surface of our awareness about in our environments. So as you become aware of that, let your soul's voice, even if it seems scary, let your soul speak louder than your personality, because sometimes that vibration is what it takes to start the momentum of shifting from making your choices based on what looks realistic and what your soul knows is possible. Okay. I don't know where Small Wildflowers is. She has not texted me to tell me that she's not going to be here. So let me look real quickly, because I didn't get my handy dandy little signs. No text from her. Let me grab my little Aries signs so I can put them up, and then we'll start our readings. Hold on, everybody. Okay. Oh, DJ, your birthday's Friday. Happy birthday. I would also think that this eclipse, I think if you're born within a couple of days of your birthday's within a couple of days of this eclipse, it could very well be very powerful for you moving forward. Again, this eclipse, having the moon and Neptune conjunct, opposing the sun, is really calling forth for us to come at this from a spiritual dynamic. No more pretending or sticking our head in the sand that if I ignore it, it will be better. I feel like this is about putting some energetic momentum into the dynamic you want. That dreamy sort of, Neptune in its highest vibration can live an idealistic life. It's a very compassionate sign. It's a very loving sign. So when you step into that vibration, then you also see sometimes how a disruption leads you to a better chapter. And this eclipse is a full moon. The full moon, it brings in a conclusion of some kind. A conclusion, meaning I have come to a conclusion in my heart and my mind. And depending upon where this is happening, what the landscape is, where the chart house is, if it's in your first house, it's about yourself and how you view yourself. If it's in your second house, it's about your talents, your skills, your voice, and your money. So there she is. I just went and got my handy little Small Wildflowers is missing signs. And I hadn't put them in order. So I'm glad you're here. Good morning. Good morning. Okay. So let's start with our readings, everybody. And I just want to reiterate, this Mars in Cancer thing right now is important to pay attention to, because we always worry when you're not here. It's like the sun isn't shining. Our little flowers aren't blooming. I want to offer this too this week, because Mars going through Cancer it's going to rub up against old stuff. Okay. I think that's also Saturn's retrograde, but I think it's going to rub up against old issues within the home environment. So if indeed you become aware of, certain people drive you crazy or certain topics are not great to, not alignment, then I think this is an opportunity to exercise awareness and in how you engage. Because sometimes the bravery comes in saying something, not that you dumb down your truth, but that you say it in a neutral way so it can be heard, meaning there's no blame attached to it. Okay. I feel like that Mars in Cancer is going to really, as it gets deeper and deeper into the sign, it just feels a little sketchy. And it will square the nodes. That's probably why I'm feeling that. All right, let's start with our birthdays, September birthdays. Happy birthday, Virgo. Again, for the last week, I apologize for my no-show. The internet went down, and then by the time it came back up, it was 90 million degrees. And Lucky and I were wiped out for 3 days from that's nice, cool now. Okay, so Virgo, let's see what your tarot card is this week. Okay, yes, then you would see it. It would be happening in your career sector. It would also be potentially affecting your public reputation, DJ. So this is an opportunity because if you think about it, even though Cancer is your 10th house, the 10th house is where Mars is naturally exalted. So now Mars is being tasked to be an emotional leader, and Mars doesn't excel at that. So with your awareness, then you can say to yourself, okay, if this divine disruption is coming into my experience, how do I want to process it? Because the first thing I think Mars teaches us when we're aware is to step back before we take action. And that's why it's exalted in Capricorn, because that's where Capricorn becomes the Yoda and Mars becomes Luke Skywalker. So now up here, you're going to get an opportunity to demonstrate emotional awareness and yet stand your ground. Could be difficult. Okay, Virgo. Sorry, I just had to address our birthday girl there for a minute. Your tarot card is the Five of Wands. So there's arguments, competition. I always think of it as kind of awkward competition. So there's a weird feeling of passive aggressiveness for me because nobody's directly engaging. And so I think that when we look at this card, we know fives represent freedom, and independence in many ways. And here is this, all these guys sort of in a, again, that the only guy that seems to be looking like he's going to whack anyone on the head is the guy in the red tunic. But if you look at the colors, there's a lot that has to do with the yellow, which represents our power, our strength. We've got this predominant, not just the yellow, but the red. It feels almost like there's people are fighting for their survival. Let's look and see what Spirit has to say. So you've always been the wise one. Oh my goodness. Or was someone making fun of your ears? Because that could be. Whoa. All right, here we go. So this is for Virgo, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Welcome, just call me C. Our first angel is Shanti, the angel of peace. Could this be more right on to what we were just saying? Here's this competition, the competition, the arguing, this feeling of people sort of being passive aggressive. Good morning, Lucy. And then Shanti, the angel of peace, is offering more tranquility ahead. Then we have Ariel, the angel of connection with your team, your guides. There's Vanessa, faith or fear. And then we have Merlina. Let's see how Merlina is falling today. Good morning, everybody. All right. For our Virgos, Shanti is being joined by the Lady of the Lake, which is about the courage to speak your truth. Now, when we talk about Virgo too, this is very interesting because I didn't even bring up the idea that Virgo rules work, it rules your service to others, and it also rules your stress. You know, that part of your mental mind processing that I gotta get it done, I gotta get it done, it's not like Pisces where you like literally lose your mind. This is where your mind is so acutely aware of what needs to be done that it drives you crazy, demanding a lot from you. Okay. So here, more than likely, there could be challenges in the Virgo energy of the sixth house that are illuminated by this eclipse. Because remember, the sun is in Virgo, the moon is in Pisces during this eclipse. Then we have Ariel being joined by the bee, which is being aware of your being energy. Vanessa is being joined by the stag, requiring your leadership. And then the water fairy is joining Merlina. Okay, so now we know that we've got Neptune. This is so powerful to have Neptune and the moon this close together because that's like a double whammy, bammy emotion. And in this natural 12th house of ancestral energy, your soul's energy. Because with our Virgos here, now there could be where you personally are dealing with somebody else's emotions. It may not necessarily be yours. And if it is yours, then you're on some level going to be tasked to speak from your truth with peace, you know, sort of try to be the diffuser of the situation because your success comes from your being energy and your awareness of the bigger picture. You know, I really believe that as I've aged, that I come and I speak and I communicate and I show up more from my soul than I do my personality. Because if it was my personality, I'd be telling everybody I think they're a dumb shit, they're an asshole, you know, pardon my language, but I would. I'd be way more assertive and aggressive because I'm an Aries rising and a Taurus moon. But here, now is the faith in your leadership. And I almost feel like this is a time when you can be a diffuser versus being a firing it up, because Merlina and this water fairy actually feel to me like there's magic in your emotional body. Now, we don't necessarily think of Virgo as emotional because of service to others. And sometimes you have to remove your emotions to be able to do the hard things. But in this particular case, I think that the sun is reflecting onto the moon and to Neptune some deeper emotional dynamic which could reveal a sense of compassion from you and yet still be able to hold a line for what needs to be done in order to put everything planted in the earth plane versus going into that sort of argumentative space. Yeah, Libra rising has a lot of interesting things that are because it is about being diplomatic, but part of that diplomacy is putting yourself first because Libra is your first house. Okay, we're going to go on to Libra right now. Speaking of Libra, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Hey, Small, did you get your envelope? Miss my mail. I go get my mail once every 5 weeks. Did you get your mail? No, of course. You know what I've found as I get older? I don't try to change other people's habits. I just work around them so that I don't worry. So like when I sent you that card, I'm like, okay, so I'm going to take it this way. I'm going to do it this way so I don't worry about when she gets there. You'll see. Okay. Libra, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. I want to offer this to anybody who's trying to make a shift, okay? Meaning a shift in habits, a shift in the way of thinking. Don't try to resist the old things. Focus more on infusing the new things. And as you infuse the new things and don't villainize the old things, whether it be, I want to quit smoking, or I want to stop eating sugar, or I want to start, juicing every day, then you'll start to feel the success of it versus the failure of it. And that's key to actually making a shift. Okay, here we go for our Libra, rising moon. Welcome, Sheila. Is that Sheila? Shelley. Welcome, Shelley. Rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Your card is the Page of Cups. This is really such a powerful card because it is very Piscean. You can see the fish right there. It's an ushering in of warmth, compassion, and love. And kind of when I think of love as sort of an acceptance, and yet at the same time, not a surrender. So you can accept somebody for their fabulous flaws, but you don't surrender to feeling disempowered by it. Let's see what's happening with Libra right now. You know what we do have going on is we have the nodes in the south node is in the early degrees of Libra. So it's starting to become conjunct that super galactic center. So there's going to be, and if you have any personal planets or your rising sign degree is anywhere within 5 to 10 degrees of 2 degrees of Libra, and depending upon how tight the orb is, that's a very powerful point for creating that sense of self as source. This could also infer for Libra a new era of creativity. I'm sorry, Desk. My computer, the internet went down. It was super. We had finally in Laguna, we had the heat wave. Okay. And my internet went down for 3 hours right during the show part. And then I was going to record. And honestly, I would have had to shut all the windows and I might have died in the hot box. That would have killed me because it was so hot. And the highway is so usually loud on Sundays that if I leave the windows open, you guys won't hear anything. So anyway, gone back. All right, here we go. Libra, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. We have the Page of Cups, offering love, offering compassion, offering creativity, being joined by Merlina. Then we have Opal. Then we have Athena. And then we have Vanessa. Oh boy, here we go. Merlina is being joined by the Raven, which is all about timing. So Merlina in the angel deck oftentimes can represent a sense of confusion. I don't necessarily see it that way. I never think that a wizard does not know about the law of attraction and how to use the elements within the earth plane to create magic. So here I would say that this is the infusion of new creativity and the beginning of a process of some kind. Let's see where we're going. Opal is being joined by the disruption card. Athena is being joined by the forgiveness card. And the wind fairy is being joined by or joining Vanessa. So while Libra has been experiencing the South Node going through your first house, it's been really calling forth this sort of deeper inner knowing of when something has moved out or there has been potential loss, because the South Node represents the tail of the dragon. It's K2. It's where something that doesn't serve us is excreted. And oftentimes the Libra energy will defer its inner voice, its power to the partner, to the dynamic in order to create peace. But sometimes it isn't creating actual peace. It's just disempowered. So here, this is where I'm going with this. In many ways, this is about offering yourself an opportunity to step forward with what brings you joy, what brings you love, where you feel a sense of self-compassion, and allowing yourself, it's the time to do that right now. It's not about being confused anymore. And I think when people are super confused, it's because they're inadvertently contemplating the crowd. I think when people know what they really want, but when they get locked up because, well, do I have the money? Do I have the resources? Will I have the time? Am I pretty enough? Am I blah, blah, blah enough? And so this could be a challenge for the Libra energy right now, because Opal is offering you safety and protection as a child of God, and your own children are being included in that, if indeed that's the case. Because here the disruption card is sometimes it's a disruption that opens the space for something to come through, or for you to sometimes. When I started to be Teri and work for myself as an entrepreneur, I had no plans to do that. It was not in the budget. It was not on the docket. It happened out of an Uranian transit where I just got so pissed off I couldn't be oppressed anymore. Because here, for my Libras, as you assert yourself, there's a reconciliation coming. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like you say to yourself, oh my gosh, if I would have asserted myself in this before and asserting myself lovingly towards what I want to create, towards the type of relationship I want, towards expressing my emotional body in an authentic way, then you'll start to experience something different. Because Vanessa talks about faith over fear, and there's the wind fairy. The wind fairy represents your thoughts. It's a 29, which reduces down to an 11. Pluto is at 29 degrees of Capricorn right now. It's making aspects to the Libra energy and has been squaring it. So here, I think for my Libras, this is really an opportunity to demonstrate yourself as sort of a boss human in your own life. And at the same time, know that this loving disruption of putting yourself as a priority is actually setting a tone for a more healthy chapter moving forward. Personally, for me right now, I have experienced Pluto squaring my ascendant because I have a 26 degree Aries rising, and then I have a 27 degrees Mars debilitated in Libra, conjunct my sun. So I've become very aware that Pluto has given me an opportunity to rewrite whether I'm going to be the hero or the banshee. Mars rules my ascendant. So here, Libra, you have an opportunity to rewrite a story of some kind, and the timing is right for this. And there is a part of yourself that gets to start to assert yourself in that direction. And it may be strictly creative. It may have nothing to do with anyone else but yourself. Which is what I shouldn't say may, it's what I think. Okay, let's go on to our Scorpio, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Aloha flower, welcome to the room. Nice to see you. You know, it's weird. Oftentimes when I read about astrology, those oppositions will be considered favorable. And, sometimes it confuses me because if you think about it, the squares and the oppositions have a lot of power, and trines are, if we think of the top three aspects, and then we go to the sextiles and it's kind of dumbed down. So I think with that square, how I observe it is that fork in the road, where I have an awareness of an old way of being, old way of thinking, old way of showing up, and then this way I want to, the way that I foresee new things happening. And then the bravery and the tension of that. So, all right, Scorpio, let's see where we're going. Ooh, self-satisfaction. We like the 9 of Cups. This is very, very fun. Okay, so let's look and see where we're going there. If you're a Scorpio moon, I got to tell you, I really believe Scorpio moon is super intuitive. Now, intuition is something that gets to be exercised, because as you exercise it, you become better at it. But depending upon the aspects, because sometimes that Scorpio moon can be aspected to a lot of earth, and it'll just come out with the more stingy side of Scorpio. But when you start to pay attention to your intuition, it's a fabulous tool. Now, I'm not taking away from Scorpio rising or Scorpio sun, but when we're talking about the emotional body, this is where our intuition lives. Good morning at Audacity Theater. Good to see you in the room. Das, good. I do not play in sidereal or Vedic. It totally changes my chart. And when I was initially doing my, I was looking at natal chart, how does it resonate with me, and who I am and how I've showed up in my life. And really Placidus makes most sense because it puts my sun in the 6th house, puts my nodal axis in the 6th and 12th house, which makes perfect sense to me. And so that's where I landed. I'm not saying the other systems aren't valid. It's just the way it resonates with me. And I think when it comes to systems, you should allow yourself to explore the ones that resonate most with you. Okay, Scorpio, let's see. Our first angel is Mystique, saying to keep charging ahead. Then we have Ray, which is your powers and your connection to spirit. We have Caressa saying that there is a life cycle ending, but new happiness awaits. And then we have Astera saying to reach for the stars. Now, I want to offer this. I really believe that Pluto's entry into Aquarius is going to usher in so many different things, from, technology to space travel. But I also believe that humans are really going to start to harness that idea that the law of attraction is not frivolous, that the divine laws of the universe are, we're going to harness them more as humans. And there will be a polarization in how this happens. So here I have them, one of the most powerful signs, if not the most powerful sign of the zodiac, because it rules such polarizing things within the human experience. And so as you harness that power, I think there's a deep satisfaction for my Scorpios, because that satisfaction is knowing how to focus your energy. Scorpio has razor focus, and different in the focus the way that Capricorn does. Because while Capricorn has focus, there's a bit of arduous energy attached. Oh, I got to do this. Scorpio's like, I want to do this because it's going to give me power. It's going to give me money. All right. Mystique is being joined by the dog, which is about unconditional love. We have the horse joining Ray, which doubles down on connecting with spirit. We have Caressa saying you're at the end of a life cycle with the Risk card. That's interesting. And then we have the Queen. Okay. I want to offer this because I absolutely believe that we are in a receptive energy. Okay. And that's why I'm so resonate with the Shapley cluster. And there is a very powerful point within the Scorpio energy at 2 degrees of Scorpio, where we're looking at the Shapley attractor. It's a point where you are releasing false attachments. There is a 5 to 12 degree orb on that, if I'm remembering correctly. So if you have any personal planets within 2 degrees of, within 5 to 12 degrees of 2 degrees Scorpio, this influences you. It's a point of releasing false attachments. That would be the attachments to other people's money because you feel powerless, or the attachments to other people through sex, through a manipulative dynamic. Here you're getting an opportunity to bet on yourself and some particular endeavor that you want. This is about being loyal to yourself as you keep charging ahead and expect miraculous solutions. This dog card is a 19, which reduces down to a 10, which is again playing with the idea of your mind is your attracting point, where your thoughts are focused. Now, I see this horse as delegating authority to my guides and my angels to inspire me into the next right action. Now, we have this week a lunar eclipse, which is going to illuminate something. The illumination for me can be a culmination, like, oh, I've come to a conclusion. I no longer want to pursue that avenue, or I absolutely want to pursue that avenue, but now I want to pursue it with more intention because I'm like, okay, I want this to happen. This, the end of a life cycle and new happiness awaits you is what Caressa says, but there is a moment of unknowing, and that's where you risk, because you're risking on your connection to spirit. So let me offer it this way, because I really don't advertise much. I'm working on a new Instagram account to birth more information and be more, cross-pollinate the platforms. But how I get my clients and how I make my living is literally saying to my guides on a daily basis, draw to me all those who will best be served by my gifts and my talents, and as you see fit. This is very much where I believe your self-satisfaction comes in, because whatever Scorpio wants to create, whether it's a relationship, whether you want to win or get a great job, you want to have money, whatever it is that you want, your ability to sit in joy and the thought of that, often you'll hear me refer to this blue curtain as communication, and how these 9 cups are not full. So he's lined them up and they're ready to receive. This is mirrored back in Astera, saying to reach for the stars. That's literally not only God and the angels, but to check your astrology and take advantage of your Jupiter transit, and then to sit in your receiving mode. And that receiving mode is not about hope. It's about intention. Dear God and the angels, I want to live here. I want to have this experience. I want, I don't care whether you want a piece of bubble gum. Doesn't matter. You just sit there and you say, Spirit, thank you for I'm ready to receive. And as I receive, I will understand that I am source energy. And I will release any attachments to things I feel I have to have in order to be powerful. And you're going to feel you're going to get a little, and I want to offer this too, because that eclipse with the moon and Neptune could very well bring forth how important the connection to your guides and your angels is, or how powerful it is. I asked for this and I started to see evidence of it showing up. And then that's your greatest service. All right, on to our Sagittarius. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Absolutely, DJ. That is a perfect way to you know what, I want to offer this, because the let go is always a rough one for me. You know, I'm not good at letting go. That stubborn Taurus moon. I like to say this. Thank you, Spirit. I'm ready to receive and to integrate the wisdom of the attachments that I've had up until now. So you turn it into a tool, and like a good Scorpio, you have their Mars sword and you can cut through the BS, because energies will continue to come into your experience. But as they come in, they'll offer you different hues and colors of how to manage it. Like sometimes it'll come in, especially when you become really aware and intentional to shift. You'll have a disruptive experience come in and you'll manage it differently than you did before. And then you'll feel the win, which is how you get to actually let it go. Okay. Fixed moon is tough. It is tough. I'm going to say, I'm not going to lie. And I'm always attracted to people with a fixed moon. And you know that they're a fixed moon, they're going to square my moon, because my moon is fixed and all fixed moons square each other. It's a pain in the ass. But then, you know, it is what it is, because squares have their benefit. Everything does. All right, here we go. On to our Sagittarius' rising moon, sun, and stelliums. This is a lovely card. This is kind of a card akin to the Fool, where this character is standing on a cliff overlooking the kingdom and knowing that the things that he wants, his ship is coming in. And I always notice sort of how with the wands, often you'll see the characters are only holding on to, well, don't look at the 10 of wands, but only holding on to one wand. And I think that's really reflective of things already in the works. Certain things are already established, and now there's new inspirations, new passions, new things being offered. And after we have, 2 weeks from now, October 2nd, we're going to have our last solar eclipse of 2024. So I think this is going to be a powerful one for creating. Oh, is there a new person in the room? Tara? Welcome, Tara. I don't see anyone named Tara, but I'll believe you. Here we go. Or are you talking about Tara like Gone with the Wind, the plantation Tara? Small, I did one of those once, and everything I had in my life ended up closing down. My job died, everything died. It happened after I got initiated as a Reiki master. Almost every facet of my life shifted, and I went back to my teacher and I yelled at him and said, "What'd you do to me? You crashed my life." And he's like, "Quit whining and start own who you are." I was so mad. I now pray for that guy. I don't know if he's still alive, but I literally thank God for him being mean to me. Okay, Sagittarius, here we go. Rosetta is our first angel. Then we have Chantal, the angel of romance. We have Rochelle, the angel of following your heart. And then we have Archangel Uriel. Very interesting. Now that 3 is about a process. It hasn't manifested yet. And I want to make that clear, because when we look at it, this guy's really looking over a vista that is yellow in its dominant color. So the sea isn't blue. The sky isn't blue. So his power all comes from his ability to see his future, that solar plex color. Sagittarius, Rosetta is being joined by the novice. Chantal is being joined by the death card. Rochelle is being joined by the Lady of the Lake. And the forgiveness card is joining Archangel Uriel. This is extremely interesting to me. Rosetta represents children, guiding children, teaching children, creating children. Not everybody's of childbearing years, and not everybody of childbearing years wants to have a child. So I'm going to go two ways here. If you are of childbearing years and you're trying to bring a little soul onto this earth plane, then it was just a matter of time. And I say that because Jupiter, your ruling planet, is currently in Gemini. And there could be an opportunity for you to rethink this because the transits have been very challenging. And as they spread, meaning I believe a lot of children are going to want to be born while in the year that Jupiter is in Cancer. I think we're going to see a big shift in how we're looking at children in general throughout the world. So here, if you are of childbearing years, I want you to just not worry right now. Now, if you are not of childbearing years, then this Rosetta is about getting in touch with your inner child, the part of you that looks to the future without barriers, okay? Without, I don't know where that's going to come from, and I don't know where that's going to come from. Because while Chantal talks about romantic love, this death card makes me think there's a change of some kind coming, but the change is coming to be something more authentic to what you want. So it has to do with two things. Number one, the death card is a 46. The 46 reduces down to a 10. I'm always going to harp on those ones. We've got 10 people in the room right now, and that number is signaling, be careful what you're thinking. Your thoughts are manifesting very quickly. So I think that this is talking about a transformation into how you look at what you love. Now we see Rochelle it's talking about your heart and having the courage to not look in the physical world, but to look ahead. Because here, there's going to be something that comes in that actually reconciles whatever frustration, whatever has been stoking your more challenging side. Now, let me offer this for my Sagittariuses too. Any personal planets you have, meaning Venus, Mars, Mercury, the Sun, the Moon, that are near 14 degrees of Sagittarius, you have the ability to attract whatever it is that you need. And the focus really gets to be delineated by whether you're hoping it's going to happen or you're knowing it's going to happen. Because this guy knows his ships are coming in and he's willing to wait. He's not letting his eye off the prize, though. He's still holding on to that inspirational wand. Because this looks like there's a potential of a new beginning for you. And I think that new beginning will come as a result of the eclipse's illumination. Neptune is very creative. The moon is very emotional, and emotion is creative because that's where we get all our love songs from. So I want to offer that in that something is coming in. And right now, your job is to stay focused and to sort of trust and to look at any disruption as a way of cleaning house. So I said there were so many people in the room, and then the room just cleared out. So that's always fun to hear. God bless. I've just decided numbers don't matter. It's just about showing up. Showing up, showing up. That's what Saturn wants from all of us. Show up. You know, I got to tell you, Lucy Rose, my whole world opened up when I turned 53 and going from then on. So if you are 54 now, then this could be a very key time. I also want to kind of remind y'all that, you know, those of you that are OGs and been listening to me for a while know that I've been talking about how Spirit is going to start to activate us in later chapters, where your greatest love affairs, your greatest personal successes and fulfillment will shine and will blossom. And I really, truly believe that is part of a big shift in the way that we are looking at the life's journey. So, set your intentions, stake your claim. Oh, maybe that's what happened. Maybe people lost the internet. Maybe that's why so many people left at once. 44 and a half. Oh, you accidentally wrote 54? Well, 44 is a solid number of building. Okay, let's go on to our Capricorns, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Oh, well, Capricorn's going to love this. There's the 10 of Pentacles. This is a huge money card. It's a card of community. It's a card of tradition. It's a card of history. It's very Capricornian in many ways. It likes to build. So we see the grandparents, we see the dogs, we see the kids, we see the parents, we see the community. So there's the potential of something coming into fruition. And this is not just people in a community. This is thriving. This is where we see us enjoying our material wealth. And I don't know if I believe that line in the Bible about the meek will inherit the earth. I think that was a little bit of a glitch, a typo maybe, because I believe that God likes us to be abundant and represent that energy. Whoa. All right. Let's see where we're going for our Capricorns. Building, building, building. I'm trying to think. 44 was a while. Oh, 44 was kind of rough for me. 43 and 44 were a little rough for me, but I found this place where I'm living, but I also lost everything I own. So I had a lot of good and bad happening at the same time. Big clearing out. Okay, Capricorn, your first angel is Rosetta. The second is Archangel Raphael. The third is Opal. And the final is Mystique. Capricorn sometimes isn't the best at being a frivolous child, Even when they're children, they can be very serious and very stoic and dutiful. And I don't know we'll see where we're going with this. I also noted that when I was in my 40s, my early 40s, I was going through a big period of frustration. I think I've told you all that Pluto has made some very serious aspects throughout my whole lifetime, conjunctions to almost all my planets, and now the squaring. So in my early 40s, I was so frustrated and kind of pissed off. And I was like, I just want to wipe the slate clean and start over. I just want to wipe the slate. And I literally chimed this for a couple of years. Then I moved to North Carolina. And in the move home about a year and a half later, literally everything was wiped out that I owned. And I started over. So I really want to offer this for those of you that are at that phase in your 40s where you're frustrated. Be mindful of what you're declaring in your frustration, because you could inadvertently be declaring something that you don't want to experience. And it's kind of the hard way to go. Okay. All right. Capricorn, Rosetta is being joined by the forgiveness card. Archangel Raphael is being joined by the frog. Opal's being joined by the risk card. And Mystique is being joined by the letting go card. Okay, so we know that Capricorn rules fear. We know that Capricorn rules, oh my God, just call me C, sending you love for that experience. All right, Capricorn rules fear. It rules endurance and dutiful, obligatory energy. It can be very dry and unfun. But here, I think there's something going on, because I believe that the childlike faith that you're having, and in whatever you're wanting to build, I want to offer this because I think that this is the goal, is this 10 of Pentacles. And here, this forgiveness card is telling me that when I put some faith in something, that there's a reconciliation coming. And that's experiential, because when I experience something, it helps me actually shift how I'm thinking, because now we see a cleaning up of your mind. Epiphany comes through with Archangel Raphael of some kind, and you start to risk believing in that connection to spirit even more than you have before. knowing you're a child of God, a child of source energy, and then risking that as your go-to. Saturn is your ruling planet. And I've been saying since Saturn moved into Pisces that Saturn was calling forth a strong relationship with your spiritual body, with your soul's inner voice. That yes, on a mundane earthly level, Saturn can be very uncomfortable in Pisces, but when we connect with the idea that we are souls and we start to build the structure, spirit, I want to experience this, inspire me into the next action, things start to make sense. So here we see Mystique saying to Capricorn, keep charging ahead, expect miracles for the things that you want to create, the things that will create for a long term. Do y'all hear the beeping in the background? Holy crap. Because here, look at this letting go card. This is where fear starts to reconcile itself and it starts to bring you into a place of power, where you start to examine your fears. And look, it's a 44, everybody. You've been talking about that number right now. DJ just wrote it in there. So I believe very much that letting go card is not about actual letting go of something, but an integration, and then allowing fear to be the thing that accelerates me and gives me that sense of, oh my God, I can't believe I did it. All right. Onward and upward to our Aquariuses. I do think it could be very much an angel number for today. We also have the wrist card is a 40. So we're seeing a series of 4s right now because, we have a 49. So we have a 4 there and we have a 14 here. So I know that beeping. I'm telling you. Every once in a while, I think if you really want to get to me, just that. I'm so blessed that my dog is such a quiet little beast. I have to tell you, that first 2 years of being a strict mom really paid off. All right, here we go. On to our Aquariuses, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Inspiration is coming. New ideas are coming. When Pluto moves into Aquarius, I don't want you guys all to just get scared. I really feel like there is the potential, if we think about Aquarius rules nervous breakdowns, it rules that nervous system, that anxiety. And if we think about Pluto rules that deep psychology where other people have power and control over us through money, through their resources, through sex, through voodoo, through criminal behavior. Now, what if this releases you? This entry, you've been working, you've been paying attention, meaning you've been working on being aware. You've been aware of what you want for your future. You've been aware of what you don't want taking into your future. And I believe that there's new inspirations and new ideas coming. So as you start to set those intentions, you can really represent a renovation, an innovation. Let's see where we're going this week with our illumination from the lunar eclipse. And that lunar eclipse is going to be in your second house of money and your skills and your voice. Whoa. When I talk about the voice, I'm not just talking about speaking. I'm talking about your ability to speak your truth. To say, no, I don't like that, or I don't want that, or I don't appreciate that you're late all the time, or I love you so much, but I need to charge you for this. Whatever the case may be, that's what the voice is. Your voice in your ability to say, I'm valuable and my time and my efforts are worth money. All right, our first angel for Aquarius is the angels of Grace and Antoinette. That's compassion. Then we have Merlina. Then we have Archangel Raphael offering a healing. And then we have Indriel, the light worker. Okay. Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the frog. Merlina is being joined by the butterfly. Archangel Raphael is being joined by the wrist card. And Indriel's being joined by the restriction card. Okay, this is how I perceive this for my Aquariuses. It's really Aquarius is like an interesting sign because sometimes in thinking so broadly, it represents the collective consciousness, thinking about how to make life better for everybody. It's kind of like Jupiter a little bit. It's so broad that it can kind of miss those everyday details. Sometimes Aquarius moon can be considered a little bit on the more logical side, not so emotional. So here, this is where I'm thinking there could potentially be for Aquarius is that you've not been feeling inspiration of some kind, that you've been hoping and wanting inspiration. And now here's an opportunity to be compassionate with yourself as you become aware of your mind's loop. Okay. When I look at the frog, there's a couple of things. Every Asian restaurant you go into, there's always a frog with a coin in its mouth, right? So when you pick up your food, because it represents abundance. This particular card talks about releasing emotional baggage. We have an eclipse here in your second house. And I really think if you look in Placidus, and this eclipse ends up falling in your first house because you've got Pisces energy, somehow. When I look at my first house, it's mostly Taurus because of my late degree rising. So if you're a late degree Aquarius rising, that could push a lot of Pisces into your second house. Into your first house. So I want to offer this because I think that there's something going on within your mind that you're going to have you may be frustrated that ideas aren't coming or something, because now we're being offered a blossoming through the butterfly and a movement past any confusion. And part of this idea is the human is pre-wired to move, take action, be productive. If you think about the idea that Saturn is the co-ruler of Aquarius, so there is this feeling of having to endure, having to go through some steps. And there's something here that makes me feel that you're risking a bigger idea by not trying to take action before the inspiration. You could literally be more productive, because it's doubled down to me when Indriel, the light worker, and the restriction card is here, that there's an inspiration of some kind coming. And you don't know where that inspiration will come from. Sometimes it's in an experience with someone, and then, you are inspired to do an action from there. For instance, I met somebody and they were interesting to me. And so they gave me their astrology information. And when I looked at their astrology, I saw that the sun is in Aries, is in opposition to Pluto in Libra, and both are making a T-square to Mars in Capricorn. And that actually made me think about doing a video about Mars in Capricorn and how it can be afflicted and it can be actually a challenge. And that's forthcoming at some point, because, I have a lot of ideas and my Aries rising doesn't get them all done expeditiously. But this is where I'm going with this, because somewhere, Aquarius, there is something's going to go bing. And it may be as a result of this eclipse, or the eclipse may illuminate something that then, when we go into that solar eclipse at the beginning of October, you start to put the seeds in place. Okay, let's go into our Pisces. Rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. If you are a Pisces with a late degree Pisces, you could be experiencing a lot. We've got the North Node that's about to move into, not right now, but soon enough. We've got Neptune floating around there, which is sometimes a very difficult transit because it can be erosive. It will call forth a real change of habits. And when I say that, it's not just the habits of the physical, but the habits of the emotional and the habits of the spiritual. Let's see what card you're getting, Pisces. The Queen of Swords. This is calling forth the Libra energy of balance, of fairness, of actually a bit of intellect infused. If we think about the Pisces energy, it will listen to everybody's sob story and actually feel sorry for it. I listen to a sob story and I sometimes go, well, why did you do that? Or why did you put your foot in it there? Not a Pisces. Pisces will be like, I'm so sorry you stepped in it. And now I think this might be a little bit also indicative of Saturn's transit through your first house. Let's see where we're going. because that's, again, what Saturn's looking for. Saturn's looking for a marrying of the spiritual with the material. So the awareness of not just meditation, but also declaration. Spirit, I want to experience this. Thank you for lining those components up for me to walk through. And then you have to be brave enough to do it. So let's see. And if for some reason this lunar eclipse brings in something that feels disappointing, like the realization that some people are never going to change no matter how compassionate you are towards their plight, then this would be bringing you back into that self-care. Okay, here we go. Our first angel is Ariel, the angel of your guides, your experiences. Aurora is saying you're flying high right now. Don't descend. Azure is promising that something you want is coming into fruition. And then Astera is saying to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires, which means not to cut anything off or make any compromises out of fear or to slow down your roll. I don't know what GWT is. Like, my brain isn't thinking that way. What is GWT? I'm trying to think, what would that be? It's probably obvious and I just can't think of it. Okay, Pisces. Ariel is being joined by the burden card. Aurora is being joined by the disruption card. Azure is being joined by the frog. And Astera is being joined by the partnership card. Okay. Oh, it means water? Okay. I want to offer this because, this queen is all air. She's all logic. She's literally like a judge. She tries to be fair. She tries to be fair to everybody. And yet, in the background, we see those storm clouds. We see these big puffy clouds. We don't know if they're very ominous, but they do seem to be abundant. Here, right now, Pisces, you may be feeling a real challenge in connecting with your team. You may inadvertently be feeling, again, Saturn in your first house is not easy. And depending upon, what degree, because Saturn's retrograde. And I believe Saturn's creeping around 12 degrees, maybe 13 degrees right now. It'll go all the way to 12 before it moves forward in October. And that's not easy. So here, if you're not necessarily feeling your connection to spirit, it doesn't mean it's not there, because Aurora is asking you to continue on even through a disruption of some kind. And as a result of that, there's something is going to be released. And I want to offer this because, again, this eclipse is in your house. The moon will be traveling through your house on Tuesday for most of the day. It might even be late Monday night. And it could be a very emotional time. And at the same time, Spirit is offering you logic and intellect through that process. Because when we get to the final position, we see Astera is offering you to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires. And then there's the partnership card. And I'm not thinking that's a partnership outside of yourself. I think that is an actual connection with your team that's telling you things that might feel hard right now. Like that feeling when there's certain people in your life and you connect and you hit and you feel so aligned, but then there's some things at the same time that are completely unaligned that you think very differently about. I had somebody send me a video on astrology, and they sent it to me, and when I looked at it, it was a woman saying that she was being affected by Mars's transit in Cancer, and then the guy thought she was being nutty because what is that? And while it was very sweet to send me the video, it sort of played deeper to me about what this person thinks about astrology. So I get to process that in my own way. Oh, you got dropped? Maybe that's why people keep coming and going in and out of the room. Okay, because this is where I'm going with this. Pisces, you're extremely spiritual. You're extremely intuitive. You and Scorpio's got a little edge on you because Scorpio's not as emotional as you are. Scorpio's not as compassionate as you are. And so sometimes you can fall prey to that. But at the same time, this is key this week in order to keep your balance, to keep yourself in a place of fairness and harmony. And even if it may seem a little bit challenging because we are living in a human body, continue on because there'll be success offered for you. Okay, on to our Aries, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. And take a quick sip of my tea. Okay, here we go. For our Aries, the Death card. This is a very interesting card because when you look at it and you examine it, the king is dead, the structure is dead, the government is dead, and yet the religious figure is here confronting a new way of being. Maybe it's my I've got a square from Uranus to my Uranus. Maybe I'm having a little stuff going on. Everything seems fine on my end. So what I'm offering for my Aries, this Death card very much feels like a transformation from one structure to another. And if we think about Mars's energy, Mars is in many ways the very much physical. I mean, it's the fire aspect of it, but it comes in and it rules the body, you know, and the athletics of the body and the movement of the body. So we could potentially be seeing an integration. You know, when we look at these planets and we intend to see the higher vibration in them, we see Mars in a very powerful place in the sign of Cancer, because Mars has started to trust its intuition. And there's nothing better in battle than to trust your gut. You know, that's the whole reason Yoda puts Luke in the cave of fear, so that he can understand his own fears and not be vulnerable to them. So let's see where we're going with this transformational Death card. All right, here we go. Caressa, the end of a life cycle, new happiness awaits. Akasha is showing up. That's an ability to learn and to counsel. We have Omega in the way of victory. And then we have Shanti offering peace. I like that. You know, again, I think that depending upon the aspects to it, if there's a lot of challenging aspects, you know, the red lines, it could play to the more challenging dynamics of Mars feeling disrespected in Cancer. Because Mars gets so hot that the Cancer moon is like, hey, be nice. Mars is like, I don't want to be nice. This is wrong. I don't want to be nice. So if Mars, though, is well aspected, then Mars understands the ebb and the flow of emotions and can be more empathetic while it's trying to do what it needs to do. Okay. Caressa is being joined by the risk card for my Aries. Akasha is being joined by the restriction card. Omega is being joined by the Lady of the Lake. And then the Goblin is being joined. So this is what I'm going to say, because if you think about it, so we're talking about Aries. Not only is Mars in water, it's in a sign that's squaring it. And that's the 4th house of home. So here, Caressa and the risk card, to me, it's one of those, you ever hear that saying, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? It's an annoying question. My answer is almost always both. But sometimes to be happy, you just have to sort of look to something different, sort of let something transpire. Because here we have the restriction card and we have Akasha. And Akasha is kind of telling me that there could be a fight between your head and your heart. It's almost like, you know, when you win something, but did you ever get in a fight with your brother or your sister when you were little, and then your parents punished your brother or sister and you're like, see, I was right, but they didn't punish them enough and you were annoyed by it? You know, you're like, well, they deserve to be grounded for a week. If it was me, I'd be grounded for a week. There's something that feels a little bit off kilter here. Now up here, the victory comes in your ability for my Aries to say, What's most important to me? What's most important to you? Because Aries sometimes wants to see the punishment, wants to see the, you done me wrong, you need to pay. And I think that this week, if you want to be peaceful, it's really being recognizing where your ego could be edging God out. I know, just call me. See, who doesn't want to be right? But if you think about it, in an argument, we're never right. We're always different perspectives. Because what I think is happening for my Aries and for me personally is actually being able to see the difference between standing in my spiritual body and feeling a sense of righteousness within that, or standing in my material body where I feel a sense of physical righteousness that makes me want to punish others. And I don't know that punishment ever inspires action, in a balanced way. It just, so I really do prefer both, and I hate the question because I feel like it's baiting me into my ego. But here, the recognition of my ego allows me to feel a little bit more peace. So this feels like a weird week. I'll bet you that eclipse has something to do with it for you too, Aries. I'll bet you that there's, it's a partial. So I'll bet you things are not fully disclosed, and you may even personally know something that adds information, but you're being tasked to decide how to use your information. Will you be the peaceful warrior that allows the fire of anger to dissipate, or will you stoke yourself up again? It's possible because, unconscious Mars in Cancer is just going to create steam. All right, here we go. I think that, those kind of questions are they feel like they come from like the prosecuting attorney. Do you want to be right? Or your parents. Same thing sometimes. Oh, DJ, you're so wonderful. It's your birthday and you're giving me presents. You're awesome. All right, Taurus, here we go. All right, Taurus. This is fun. Maybe not. 10 of Wands. This is a card that's really sort of about a burden. It's about carrying something in a hard way, not being able to see. The card itself is if you look at it, it's very earthbound. I mean, we've got a blue sky finally. We've got a brown ground, meaning brown dirt ground. We see the colors of the tunic are red. And he can't find the inspiration as represented by the yellow hair. He's too busy looking. So let's see where we're going. You've got Uranus going. I think Uranus is retrograded. Yeah, it did in September. So there's a revisiting of things. As Uranus retrogrades in Taurus, it makes aspects to my Chiron, and it makes aspects to my natal Uranus. So there could be a potential that with Taurus, there's something that if you look at things from an old perspective, or if you look at things from how I have to do them instead of how I want to do them, or because there's a funkiness in that Taurus energy, that because it rules your self-confidence as it was shaped by your parental unit, your family unit. So sometimes we tend to, with those earth signs, we tend to look at what is expected, what's wanted, what the material will support with its applause, and we'll go that way. So I think we'll see what's happening here. First, for my Taurus rising, sun, moon, and stelliums, we have Caressa marking the end of a life cycle. That's the eclipse coming in. We have Caressa saying, have faith and hope. There's more on the horizon. We have Archangel Uriel offering a balancing or a healing. And then we have Yvonne, that vulnerable. Yvonne is playing right with Crystal, because this is going to have to come from your heart. You might not be able to see it. So much of the human experience wants that validation, And sometimes the validation just comes from your interior emotional body. It's also like when you're in high school and you want to have that last conversation with that boyfriend or that girlfriend for closure. But there's really never closure. Have you ever noticed that? Caressa is being joined by the deer. Crystal's being joined by the novice. Archangel Raphael's being joined by the water fairy. And Yvonne is being joined by the love card. Okay. I'm really going to open this up. I know, but it's, even though it's true what you say, Lucy, it's also natural to the human. It's how we're raised. Be a good little girl and boy. Yay, you walked, you laughed, you ate your dinner. Yay, yay. We are predisposed to wanting to please others. So here, I think for my Tauruses, though, that this is all about wanting to see something in the material versus knowing it's happening on the interior. Because Caressa says you're at the end of a life cycle, new happiness awaits you. And I think that a lot of it has to do not with being gentle like a deer, but with the fear, being paralyzed, not being able to see where to go and how to make a move. Because here is a new beginning based on something you can't see, but you can feel. It's further supported by Archangel Raphael giving me some sort of emotional epiphany, which then plays back to the eclipse. Now, the eclipse happens on the 17th, the lunar eclipse, but eclipses bring in events that happen over a 6-month period of time, because potentially this could have a lot to do with feeling loved, feeling valued, feeling important, rather than feeling burdened by you have so much to do, or there's so much expectation on top of you for what to be done. And I want to offer this too. I haven't really harped on this in a while, but love is being offered. Literally, love of friendship love, intimate love, communal love is going to shift a little bit, I think. And it's going to be offered in later chapters, that when it's more seasoned and it feels more vibrant is a word I want to use. So for those of you that are looking for companionship, or looking for community, or looking even for a new set of ride or dies, that book club where y'all like the same thing. These things will come forth, but part of it is you being willing to invite them in, being able to let Uranus liberate you from some of those more challenging historical dynamics within your psyche. Because this is about being vulnerable to the idea of that you can love your life and all the things within it. The money will come, the community will come, everything you need will allow for a birthing. And I know that here in the United States, as we get closer and closer to the election, a lot of focus has been on lack and things that we don't have, as we've experienced. And there's always contrasting experiences inside of every group dynamic. So when you use your power of focus to call forth an elevated experience, all the resources I need will come to me. I'm a Taurus. I know how to make my own money. I know how to be a bit enduring. I know how to be a little bit stoic. And in that, you're being vulnerable to a bigger picture, and then Spirit will reward you with those experiences, which will separate you from the herd. And that's HERD. All right, here we go. On to our Geminis, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Okay, this is not fun. This is a challenging card. The Five of Pentacles represents two characters that are so entrenched in their story, in their problems, whatever lack is happening, both physical and spiritual, that they can't actually see the what appears to be the warmth of a church. And it really appears that it's this woman who's leading the charge, because this other character seems to see it, but he follows her. So there could potentially be a habit here, a habit of thought. That's how it's coming across to me. The fives also give us an opportunity to be independent from something, to find freedom from it. So let's see where we're going. Now we know we have Jupiter going through your first house. Jupiter is in its detriment there. But again, I kind of bulk on that because Jupiter is a world traveler and likes to explore all sorts of diversity. Here, Jupiter is exploring the diversity of the human mind, human communications. It's also on a more, mundane level, bringing justice to the media. We've been hearing a lot about fake news or news that's slanted. There's been a lot going on about certain news stations focus in one area while others focus in another. Jupiter would illuminate that. But overall, I think that this is really about a habit of thought. Our first angel is Caressa, another end of a life cycle. This is really powerful on an eclipse week. So where a lot of us are going to be coming into the end of nonsense, a much more empowered chapter. We have Archangel Michael saying, offering you support and protection as you have the courage to make these life changes. We have Isaiah offering new beginning, again, protected during change. And then Grace and Antoinette is about compassion. Caressa is being joined by the Forgiveness card. Archangel Michael is being joined by the Serpent. Isaiah is being joined by the Hawk. And Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the Restriction card. Okay, this is a little bit interesting to me because it feels like for my Geminis, it's a little bit of two stories happening simultaneously. It does feel a little bit like that. It feels like there's a slowdown in order to have a certain amount of awareness. It feels as if, if we think about Gemini, the Pisces energy squares you, and it's your 10th house, right? Gemini, Pisces is way up there. Gemini, Sagittarius. Yeah. Okay. Because there could very well be something going on in your career sector, in your, how you want, we think of this as public status. When we look at the 10th house, we look at this as where our ambition is. We look at this as where in many ways our drive is. It's also our status in relationship when it changes. Because I think somehow if there's been a disruption or even potentially a rejection of some kind, or maybe you didn't get the job promotion or you didn't get the opportunity, there could be something that's going to be better down the line that you can't see. I think with Jupiter in your first house that it's about dreaming bigger, looking bigger, and not getting too caught up in the details of what's happening right now so that you can open up to something more aligned. Because this is about courage to actually allow this a shift of some kind. My baloney has a first name. It's Oscar. Okay, sorry, I couldn't help myself. Archangel Michael here is asking for your participation. And that participation is an awareness of what your focus is. Because you're being offered protection as you rise above the situation and you look for the eyes or the signs and the omens. Sometimes, when we want to shift something, when we want to live a better experience, we inadvertently get nervous that the experience that we're having is, I don't want to give that up. I don't want to, what do they say? A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. And yet at the same time, if you never go for the two in the bush, you won't ever feel the expansion. Because I feel like right now, this is about having a bit of, I think you're being held down a little bit. I think you're being restricted, but I think it's so that you can have an awareness of how you're processing information or how you're focusing. There's a dog out there. There was an Amazon truck going backwards with their new weird beep, beep, beep. It's not beep, beep, beep. It's beep, beep, beep. And then there was some, see, this is why I couldn't do last week because I would have had to lock myself in with no air. Anyway, did that make sense for my Geminis? Let me just recap. This week, I really want you to be aware that the lunar eclipse could bring in something that appears to be challenging or appears to thwart your efforts, appears to close something maybe or close it in a way you didn't expect. And at the same time, that closure, that disruption, that potential rejection could recalibrate something. And let's offer this too for my Geminis, because you do rule thinking. And if you've been overly worried, that could be what Spirit's trying to alert you, is that your focus on the worry is inadvertently thwarting the solution to coming into your physical experience. Because I think at the end of the day that you're going to actually see this restriction, you're going to understand it better. As I've gotten older, I've come to understand that a break sometimes, when I want to go boom, 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 there's a reason for it. And I don't quite get as locked up as I used to, because I used to get, damn, dang, I want to get this done, da, da, da. And it ends up turning out better. That's where I'm going with this. Thank you, Just Call Me. See, I appreciate that. Well, that's where I love the overlay of things, because, you look at the planets in that third house. You look at the idea that Gemini rules the way you think, and then you look at Pisces would be very creative thinker, very lyrically, very creative in many ways. And it also could be a place where you don't let your thoughts shine, where you could be afraid that you need to be quiet or invisible within your thoughts because they would not be acceptable to the group. There's no way to get around the group. I don't know what the Vidal is. I don't know what that means, Queen Leo. All right, on to our Cancers. The veil. Oh, right. Thank you, Lucy Rose. You got, the video. My video is blacked out for you. You can't see me? Oh, no. Well, that might be lucky. My hair is frizzing. All right, let's go on to our Cancers. Rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. There's Mars in your house, protecting. He's been through the wars, and now he's on guard. Let's look. The thing about this Nine of Wands is he hasn't forgotten. Whatever he's been through has left its scar. It's left its mark. And if you look at his garb, he's in browns, yellows, and reds. The white tunic underneath is always going to represent the purity and that spiritual light, but it's been masked by that red tunic and by what he's been through. Oh, good job. All right. We have Shanti, the angel of peace. We have Chantal, the angel of love. We have Serena, the angel of money and abundance and serenity. And then we have Seraphina. Well, these are all rather new. Seraphina is about change in the family. Shanti's being joined by the Queen. Chantal's being joined by the hawk. Serena's being joined by the cow. Wow. And Seraphina's being joined by the dragon. Okay, so for my Cancers, stop protecting yourself so much. Stop focusing in on your old wounds and all the old crap that happened, because now's the time to be liberated, to incorporate. You're being offered a real opportunity for peace and tranquility, and to receive and to enjoy more. Here we see that there are things not only that you love, but that you want. I want to offer this too, because if you're looking for companionship, if you're looking for love, there is the potential. It's on its way, but you've been so guarded by your previous experiences that you're blocking out your ability to receive. This cow is always about receiving, about the exchange of energy. So is the Queen. The Queen does not represent necessarily femininity in straight up, but the receptive energy of the feminine. It also does represent feminine qualities, as the King does, but it's a bigger picture here, because this is about Cancer trusting an inner knowing, something that's outside of yourself. Because here is a happy change to your family, and the dragon offering of through your calm, cool sort of energy, sort of your trust in a bigger picture of the timing of things. If for some reason things have not transpired in the timing that you want, rather than looking at it as it's a no, or the universe is saying, you know what, this isn't going to happen for you, it could be that through a certain process, you appreciate the experience more. But overall, for my Cancers, this looks very much like you're protecting yourself from an old wound and inadvertently cutting off a new experience. So Spirit wants you to sort of say, Jesus, take the wheel. I'm going to focus in on what it is I want. I want a kind person in my life. I want someone who shows up and pays attention to me. I want somebody who's authentic in their communication. I want a more, whatever it is. When we're looking at Cancer, we're always going to kind of defer to home, hearth, family, and partnership. Love, children. So here, this is about calming your ass down. Feel the love. Sorry. Every once in a while, I just get a little sassy. And I mean it in the best way. I know. Well, every once in a while, we just got to use some of those old sayings. All right, here we go. This is our last sign of the day. Our Leos talk about love, love, love. Oh, something's coming. This 8 of Wands is probably the only card in the whole deck that doesn't feature a character at all. It represents the Gemini energy, news, a conclusion. I've come to a conclusion of some kind. It also, for me, very much represents an ending. When we look at most of the wands we see in the deck, all the foliage is pretty much at the top. They infer that they don't know which way these are going, but to me, they're clearly heading towards the earth. So something is coming into the earth plane. Now we have this lunar eclipse that's taking place in the sign of Pisces. So let's see where we're going. And this is a very quick energy. So this would illuminate itself very rapido. I know, I noticed, it's funny, I've worked with these cards for 40 years now, and then I still see new things all the time. Because if you look at it, there's a big plume of white energy right in the middle of this card. So that it speaks of some kind of, that's where I get that conclusion. I've come to a conclusion in my mind. I've come to a culmination of an idea. All right, Leo, our first angel is Caressa, the angel of the end of a cycle and a new beginning. Then we have Oceana, which is about trusting your gut. Fiona's talking about God and the angels are here to help you. And then we have Isaiah, which says we're being protected during new chapters, new beginnings, but something is still gestating. That would be the new beginning that starts after something closes. It could be piercing through something easily. It could be piercing through the smoke. We have this eclipse that's got Neptune and the moon conjunct. So Leo could actually pierce through whatever fog. Caressa is being joined by the High Priestess, which represents discernment. Then we have Oceana and the Wind Fairy. We have Fiona and the Fire Fairy. And then we have the frog again joining Isaiah. All right, so here we go. This is definitely a discernment. Information leads Leo to a new idea, a new conclusion of some kind. We have this sort of, and that conclusion could very well be being able to differentiate between my mind processing something and my emotional body processing it, and knowing that they are two different entities that operate from two different places. Because Fiona is now saying, now that you ask God and the angels for help, be open to receiving and allow inspiration in. Inspiration starts in your emotional body, and then it creates a fire, which then can sort of be steam. Oh, I like that, Lucy. Did you just make that up? Forever relying on God? I love that, because this feels like it is absolutely some sort of emotional reconciliation. And then we have this new beginning started and being protected in a gestational period. We know that when Pluto makes its entry into Aquarius, it's going to oppose Leo's 7th house. The 7th house is not just your marriage. It's also your sense of peace, your sense of harmony, your sense of individuality, because it's Aquarius. So you're expressing your own genius within your relationships, within your interactions with others. And this may be part of what comes, is that it is your opportunity to allow yourself to let one chapter of disempowerment close as you reconcile and you work with both facets. We don't want to be all water and we don't want to be all brain. We want to be a combination. And to me, that's where I feel this inspiration and creativity coming, and signs from God that I'm in the midst of a new creative expression, period, and chapter. I want to offer this too, because while Mars is going to spend 2 months in your 12th house of Cancer, it's also going to then enter your first house. And I think this may be where, while it's in the 12th house of Cancer, you could be nurturing a creative idea, something you want to birth, something that's really close to your heart, something that feels a bit like it feels like it heals you within. And also remember, Cancer is that intuitive energy. The 12th house is intuitive. Now we're going to bring in November Mars into your first house, allowing you to take action on that, allowing you to use your fire and use your passion and your leadership to start to implement. And I think that's going to be very powerful, because we'll also see in 2 weeks a solar eclipse. And that's where your ruling planet will be featured. So we're going to be wrapping something up, discerning, letting it end, and then we're going to start a new beginning. And it's going to feel so much more aligned to what we want long term. Crystal, welcome from New Zealand. You've been in our room before. I think I recall Crystal being here before. Welcome, New Zealand in the house. Welcome, everybody. And as I say welcome, I will also say adieu. As we have completed our live for this week, I will be back next week. Keep your fingers crossed that Uranus doesn't play with my internet too much. Thank you so much. I like it too. It's a little cool. My hair is a little frizzy from the coolness, but I'm getting over it. All right, everybody, I love you. And I mean that sincerely from the bottom of my heart. I hope you have a lovely week. I want to offer you this idea on Tuesday or during this week, over the next couple of days with this eclipse, really connecting with your team of guides and your angels, so that whatever does come to fruition moves the fog of your disempowerment out, and it allows the truth of your soul to rise. Because the soul knows that it is infinitely powerful, that it is infinitely a co-creator, and it chooses to come to this earth plane repeatedly to demonstrate that. Okay? All right, everybody. I love you. I'll see you next week. Peace out.